Hello, hope this video finds you well. This is the fourth video in our set of videos where we're making a really simple base 2 to base 10 conversion tool. And in this video, what we're going to do, if we come back to our process flow, there you are, process flow chart, is we've kind of written this function in broad strokes and commented out the areas we couldn't complete yet. In our first video, we built the front end. In our second video, we built this function. In our third video, we created this check01, which basically validates to ensure that the string contains just zeros and ones. And now we're going to write this remove zero function. And what this is going to do is remove any leading zeros that are invalid because they aren't needed. Let me show you what I mean. If I pull up stage 3, if I type in 000001, that is exactly the same as writing 1. And so what this function remove zero is going to do is if I type in some binary value like this, it's going to find the first 1, the leftmost 1, and is going to remove anything to the left of it, which will be zeros. So whether I type in this value or that value, what the program is going to do is to remove those zeros. So the question is, how are we going to do this? Well, what we're going to do is we're going to do simple, we're going to loop through the string, and we're going to loop through until we find the first 1. So we're going to loop through and we're going to say, are you a 1? No. 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 Are you a 1? Yes. And when we find the first 1, then we're simply going to take the substring from that index to the end and return it. And we have a flowchart here to show that. So what's going to happen? Well, we're going to start the function, and we're going to pass a string parameter, str. Let's just zoom in a bit, actually. Okay, so we're going to, str we passed, and we know that str is only going to contain zeros and ones. That is going to be a precondition here, because remember, we've already validated the string. We're going to set a counter variable I to 0, and I'm going to say if str at I is a 1. So I'm going to check str, the very first one. If that's true, we're just going to return from str from I to the end of the string. Otherwise, we increment I by 1. We check if I is less than length of str, meaning as long as I is still a valid index value. If that's true, we come back up to the top and we do that again. Now I'm going through this pretty quickly, but what this essentially is doing is we need to write a loop, and that's this code here, and we need to write an if statement inside of it. It's a simple loop with a single if statement. And let's do that. So I'm going to make a new function, def, and we're going to call this def remove zeros, and we're going to pass it str. And this is where I want to invoke that function. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say val is equal to remove zeros, and we're going to pass a val. So I'm going to take whatever the value is, which I know is valid, it's just ones and zeros. We're going to pass it into this function. We're going to remove all those leftmost zeros and then return it. So how do we do that? Well, I'm going to write a for I in range loop, and we're going to go from 0 to the length of str, and we're going to increment by 1 each time. And I call this what I call a bread and butter algorithm. I know that I need to look at each index of the string and say, check for the first 1. And maybe I'll just do this to show you. So if my string is something like 0000, that goes 0000101, and these have indexes 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have a length of 6 with 5 indexes. I will start at 0, and I'll say, are you a 1? Nope. Increment it. Are you a 1? Nope. Increment it. Are you a 1? Nope. Increment it. Are you a 1? Yes. And so I'll just take that remaining string and return it. If I manage to progress through the entire string and not find any ones, it has to be a 0. So we have our for loop, and now I'm going to say if str at I, is that equivalent to a 1? And if that is equivalent to a 1, we're going to return str at I, and we can use a nice shorthand here. We could say, well, we could say lenstr, which is, the way we do substring in Python. So that's going to go from index I to the length. But we could also use the shorthand, which is just I colon. And if I make it past this loop, I'm going to return str. And that's it. So now let's update our process to see if that works. Instead of updating valid input, I'm going to say valid input plus, and I'm going to pass it val. And you'll see what happens here. So if I save this, and I come in here, there it is. Oh, gotta close my old one. We're going to run 4. Okay, so if I put 101 and press enter, valid input 101. Now if I put 0, 0, 0, a whole bunch of zeros, 101, when I press enter, what it should do is remove all those zeros and give me 101. And there we go. So that's all I wanted to do this video. I wanted to actually go through the process of removing those leftmost zeros. In our next and final video, we're actually going to do the base 2 to base 10 conversion. And then we'll have this nice, simple program that highlights a lot of great fundamental Python skills. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. Have a great day.